Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, The Lens India Professional Photography. So today we'll be covering our last topic of our basic photography sessions. So in this video I will explain about what are the composition guidelines what we need to adhere to when we are starting with our basic photography exercises. So, of course, when we talk about the guidelines, there are many theories or many thought processes or many rules what we can see when we are uh, creating the photographic compositions. So, without any further ado, let's start with our today's session. So, if we talk about the photographic composition, so what do we consider as a photographic composition and what does it include? So, mainly when we talk about photographic compositions, we talk about principles of design which are related to the photographics, which includes some of the theories like golden section, rule of thirds, golden triangle, and golden spiral. Secondly, we also consider the elements of design in the photographic compositions, which means that we include lines, shapes, and patterns related to the photographic composition. And lastly, the colors. So, colors also are one of the one of the part of the photographic compositions. But since these three main topics are really somewhat complicated in nature, and we can try to understand this in our further sessions when we achieve certain level in photography. But to start with, just we need to understand that these are the factors which are included in the photographic composition. So, of course, I am not going to make it too complicated, too technical, and I have summarized these composition guidelines in much more easier way, so that at least we can take our first step to start our basic photography. So let's start. When we say that we need to compose a photograph, so what do we mean by a photographic composition, or what is the composition? So, composition means to arrange various subjective elements in a harmonized manner. So, whenever we are shooting any scene and when we are looking through our viewfinder, we frame the subject and we see that there are no unwanted elements in our frame or in our photograph, which what we are capturing. And whatever the objects we see in the frame, so they are complementing each other, and that is what we call it as a harmonized placement of the objects in a harmonized way. So there are certain guidelines which I would like to share in this video today. So the to start with, we should first consider that there should be a center of interest in our photograph. That means we should have one our main subject which acts as a center of interest in the picture. So if you have multiple subjects which are forming as a main subject, then obviously the interest gets divided and the photograph loses its value. Of course, landscapes are the exception to this, because in landscapes everything is the center of interest. Okay, so the first and the foremost things what we should consider is that have a center of interest while taking the photograph. It should not happen that there are two subjects which you are shooting and both the subjects are basically so prominent that the attention of the viewer gets divided into both the subjects, and this will disturb the balance of your photograph. Also, that is why we always say that there should be always one main subject which will form as a subject of interest in your photograph. Of course, there are certain exceptions to this, as I said, the landscape. Then the second is that keep the main subject off center. Okay, now what does it mean, off center? This is also called as the rule of thirds. Okay, so if you see a small rectangle which is divided into three horizontal equal parts and three vertical equal parts. Okay, so whatever we are looking at here, so these areas where the horizontal and the vertical lines are intersecting. Okay, so this is 1/3, this is 1/3, and this is 1/3, and same way horizontally 1/3 and 1/3. So three equal parts. So this frame, what we are looking, or the way we are looking in our viewfinder, we see the grid lines. Okay, so these grid lines basically form the rule of thirds. So that means either you place your main subject in this third, or in this third, or in this third, or in this third. So this is the upper third, this is the lower third, and this is the left third, and this is the right third. Okay, so somewhere in this third you need to basically place your main subject. So what happens if we place the subject in the center of the frame? So the image looks very stubborn, very rigid, and the viewer will only basically fix his or her own eye while looking at the photograph in the center itself, and there will be no movement of the eyes throughout the frame. So that is why it is not recommended to have the main subject in the center. But again, this is just a guideline. We can break this guideline depending on some exceptions when we are capturing the photograph. Then third point what we should consider while capturing the photograph is get close to the subject, okay, or get close to an object, whatever we say. So get close to subject or an object, that does not necessarily mean that we need to physically go close to the subject or the object. Sometimes we may have to go close to the subject, sometimes we may have physically, or sometimes we can go close to the subject with the help of the telephoto lens, what we have studied in the our video where I covered about the lenses. So there are multiple ways where we can go close to the subjects. So try to go close with the subject. If your size of the main subject becomes very small, so it loses the whole flavor of the photograph. Okay, so that is why this is one thing what is really required, that we need to go close to the subject either physically or with the help of the lens. And also, if we are not close to the subject, the another drawback what we can, or another challenge what we can face is that we will end up adding some unwanted elements in your picture, which will divert the attention of the viewer from the main subject, and thus will lose the flavor of the photograph. So this is another rule. So fourth rule or the fourth guideline, what we can say is was the background when we are shooting the subjects. So very bad backgrounds, disturbing and busy backgrounds will basically take away the attention from the main subject. So avoid using such backgrounds. Keep them plain, simple, not too many elements in the background. Bad backgrounds can be eliminated by physically removing them, or maybe you can change your angle of shooting when we are taking the photographs. Or another way of taking them out of your frame is to that blur the background by taking a shallow depth of field, so that your main subject remains in focus and the photograph is captured in much more better way. The fifth guideline what we can say is that keep the horizon always straight and off center. Okay, so when I'm saying that horizon straight, for example, when we are shooting landscapes, okay, so many a times we see that our landscapes are crooked or inclined. Okay, so when these horizons go inclined, it feels that some of these objects are toppling down from one side to another side, and the photograph does not look really very good. Okay, then again, when we are talking about the horizons, we should not keep the horizons exactly at the center, so which we have seen in the earlier slide, that the if the objects are placed in the center, it divides the interest, it looks stubborn, it looks rigid. So even in such cases, particularly when we are shooting landscapes, if the horizon is exactly at the centers, this divides the photograph into two equal parts. Okay, so that is why it is always recommended that you place your horizon, main horizon, either on the upper third of the frame or in the lower third of the frame. So what does, and see, placing this horizon either in the upper third or the lower third makes a big difference. When we place the horizon on the upper third, it add sense of depth in the picture. And when we place the horizon in the lower third or the bottom third, it adds the vastness of the landscape. Okay, so this is how it creates a different perspective when the horizon is placed at different locations. So moving on, another rule what we can say is check for the different angles. Okay, so the moment when we start taking the photographs, we are so excited that we immediately start clicking the photographs, but from the same place. But then take a breath, hold on your emotions for some time. Okay, kill your excitement, because if you try to take the pictures with excitement, you will lose a good photograph. Okay, so or land up taking in a more than losing a photograph, you will land up taking in a bad photograph. So move around the subject, check for the better view, which is the better view. You may have to sit down that time, you may have to kneel, you may have to sleep on the ground, you may have to climb on some higher points or vantage points, so that you get a better angle to shoot. And you will also get, by changing your direction, you will also probably come across some good angle of light, and that will change your photograph in much more dramatic way. So that is why the moment you see your photograph or the subject, don't rush to capture that photograph. Stay cool, try to take the photographs in the beginning. So once you are used to this, then probably yes, you will understand, okay, this angle, the way I saw it first is better, or I should even look for the different angles. So this is a continuous process, and you need to keep on experimenting all the time. Then seventh guideline what we can consider is this: frame your subject. So frame your main subject with the another objects which are forming as a main subject in your photograph. Like when we say that frame your main subject, that means it can be overhanging branches of the trees, or maybe arcs of door or windows frame. So these really add depth to your picture. Okay, so it also adds scale to your picture. So look for such compositions particularly when we are shooting some architecture pictures or something like this. Okay, so of course this is also applicable when we are shooting landscapes and all those things. Even for portrait we can apply this guideline. Then the eighth guideline what we can consider is look for the leading lines. If you remember my first video which I have made about the photography, what do you mean by photography, where we studied that in that photography, the graphy means basically we write with lines, we draw, we paint, we sketch. So in that particularly we have covered about these lines. So look for the leading lines. So leading lines, like this can be explicit leading lines, or this can be the implicit leading lines. So anything which takes the viewer's attention in the photograph through the explicit or the implicit line, that is called as the looking for the leading lines, like winding roads, or maybe rivers, so, or maybe the row houses, or the trees, branches, queue of the people. So these are the examples what we can consider as a leading lines. Okay, so and these leading lines basically help the viewer to see into the photograph, or take the viewer's attention into the photograph and not out of the photograph. Okay, then the next guideline what we can consider is include the size indicators. So sometimes what happens is that when we are shooting some objects, okay, so we don't understand exactly the size, shape and the scale of the subject. Okay, so that is why sometimes it becomes necessary to add the comparative indicators which will depict the size of the object. So suppose if you are shooting too tall object, then it is better to have some small object in the composition which forms as a secondary subject, and which will indicate the viewer the difference between the height, that is the scale of the subject, probably sometimes like big, small, huge and tiny, near or far, fat and thin, narrow and wide. So these are something, the examples what we can consider as a size indicator. So once if you come across such situations, definitely it is an opportunity for us to capture the photographs. The next guideline is that we can wherever we see the contrast. So study the contrast all the time. So contrast basically makes the image more impactful. It creates depth. Okay, so the contrast does not necessarily mean that it's black and white. Okay, so something like something is sharp and unsharp, black and white, bright and dark, highlights and shadows, laughing and crying. So even the emotional contrast or the color contrast, we can say red plus green, red plus yellow, red plus blue, green plus yellow. So these are some of the examples where we can look for when we are taking the photographs when we are outside. So whenever you find this, again the opportunity of such contrast, it's always a good chance that we will get a good pictures. Then next, what we can consider as a guideline as change the format. So when what does it mean that we change the format? So when we are taking the camera and looking through the viewfinder, we have two options. One is we can place the viewfinder horizontal, that is the horizontal frame, and or we can turn our camera 90 degree and make the frame vertical. That means we normally in our day-to-day life we call it as a landscape view and a portrait view. Okay, so horizontal we normally call it as a landscape format, and vertical we call it as a portrait format. So both has different impacts. Okay, so when we are framing in a landscape format, that is the horizontal format, so horizontal format will always showcase the vastness of the scene, whereas when we turn 90 degree our viewfinder and we try to take a portrait format, that vertical view, so that will always give us the idea about the height of the subject, right? So this is how we can try changing our format as and when required. So these are the some examples what I have just shown based on the guidelines what I just shared with you. So so something like get close to the subject or look for the different angles. So you can see that this image is of a calculator keys. So just by changing the angle, you can see a different perspective at all in the right hand side image. And also the moment we go close to the subject, the whole perspective has changed. So this is how we can think and before we shoot, that what exactly perspective we want, what we want to show out of this. Okay, so we can go close to the subject and also look for different angles. So this is the example for this. Then these examples are basically to showcase you that one guideline what we studied earlier is that we should not have the disturbing or busy backgrounds. Okay, so if you see the right hand side image, so the total environment which is forming here, okay, although it looks busy, but still the environment is complementing the photo. It is not really disturbing the photo. Okay, but on the other side, the left hand image, if you see, so all these branches of the tree which are in the background, okay, even this area, so all these are really disturbing backgrounds. So something is really disturbing. When I'm looking at the face of the model, so all these branches are really disturbing me and taking away my attention from the main subject. So avoid such busy, dirty, bad backgrounds while capturing the photographs. Okay, so now there was again the example, there was a guideline given as a leading line. So if you see, even in the portraits, I have just taken this example to showcase that how the same can be implemented in the portraits. Now face being the main subject here, so you can see the fingers, the hand and the fingers are forming as a leading lines. So same case here also. So fingers are pointing your direction to the main subject of the face. Even in this case also you can see the fingers are pointing out towards the face. This is also you can see a frame which is forming and forming as a leading lines to see the face of the model. Okay, so this is how they are leading us, these lines are leading us to the main subject. Then we have seen about the framing the subject. Now this is what we mean by framing the subject. Now this is the main frame what we have, right? And now this is again a frame which is forming a frame, okay, and in this frame we have this subject. So framing the subject, again we have seen the example of that frame your landscape with the branches of the tree. So this is basically framing this particular landscape what we have. Again, this is also the right hand side image also is the frame. So frame in frame. So this is called as a frame in frame. So frame your subject, right? Then this is again the example of the leading line. So the cloud is forming the leading line and it is leading our eye to the lighthouse. And you can see lighthouse being main subject. So I have followed here the rule of third. So you can, if we divide this into three equal parts, again, so I'm just drawing it very roughly. So you can see this is in my right third, okay. So the main subject is in the right third. So this is how the compositions can be made. Simple compositions also can create a great impact in your viewers' eyes. So this is one of the landscape what you can see. So here you can see the horizontal line of the landscape is horizon is kept straight, okay. So the horizon is at the lower third, if you can see. Again, if you see this is the leading line, implicit leading line which is forming and which is taking me towards the horizon. And you can see that the overall, you can see the vastness of the city over here, right? So, so by placing just the horizon at the lower third, it has shown the scale of the city. That is how the city is a vast city, right? Again, this is the example of the lines. So these are the horizontal lines which are forming here like this, and this is the curved line which is forming here. So look for such lines which will create a dynamism in the picture. So these curved lines and these lines leading to this architecture are basically creating some dynamism in the picture, although a very simple photograph, but this is how the leading lines make a big impact. Then we were talking about scale in our composition guidelines. So you can see there are three objects which are taken, 1, 2 and 3. So all these three objects, okay, because they are placed side by side, you can understand the scale of each object over here. So this is how you can use the secondary object to give the scale to the main object. So we also studied about, we also looked about for the high contrast images or the contrast in the landscape. So you can see the contrast, okay, where you can see the usage of lines, right? Horizontal lines, diagonal lines, and someone is walking on the ladder, and you can see the bright and darks, light and shadows. So this is the example of the contrast what we can take about. Then change the format. So we have seen the format, changing the format, that is from the landscape format to the portrait format. So this is the photograph of the same architecture. If you see, by taking just a vertical format, this shows the overall height of the main building what I have considered, or the architecture what I have considered. And if you see the another horizontal format, you can see the vastness of the premises, right? And again, in both the cases, my main subject, which is the architecture, is placed on either of the thirds, either in the right third or on the left third, and it is not exactly at the center. So this is how we can compose our photographs. And even if you see the horizontal format, the vastness is shown, and even the horizon is also straight over here. So this is also another example of the change the format when you're required. So you can see it's the picture of the same place. Just by changing the format, horizontal format shows the area which is available, vastness of the area which is available over there, whereas the vertical format indicates the height of the monument which is available over here. So that's it for now. So this was about all the composition guidelines, and to start with, you can consider these guidelines when you are capturing the photographs. Start practicing this, and learning composition is never ending. As long as we are into photography, we continuously evolve with some new theories, new ideas, which help us in improving our compositions on the daily basis whenever we make progress. Okay, so if you have any questions about the compositions or anything about any of the videos which I have made earlier, please don't hesitate to mention that in the comment box. And if you have learned from these videos, please hit a like and please do subscribe my channel and press the bell icon. I'll be making a separate video for the detail, understanding the composition in details, which will also involve some technical details like how the lines impact the photograph, how the curved lines impact the photograph, or how the diagonal lines impact the photograph, how colors impact the photograph. So all these elements will be principles of photographic design elements, as well as the color and everything will be included in the next video what I'll be making soon. So meanwhile, I think this is good enough to start as of now, which I have tried to make it as simple as possible. So thank you so much for all your support and for all the love what you have shared till all these 12 videos or 13 videos what I have made for the basic photography. So stay tuned for new videos which I'll be uploading where I'll try to get into more details about the photography. If you have any specific topic in your mind, please feel free to comment in the comment box. Thank you so much. Bye bye.